You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is January the 20th, 2020. With you today is myself, Carl, and Stevie Nick.
Hey, Carl. We did it. We started the show.
As you mentioned, you said, what did you say when we started?
Why do we do this on Mondays?
Why do we do this on Mondays? Attempt number 3. We're finally rolling on this show.
We got it. Now, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about so many things, Nick.
A lot happened. It's been a busy few weeks in the NHL.
It's been a busy few weeks. What happens every week in the NHL? A coach got fired this week.
Oh, I was going to say hockey was played. Hockey games were played.
Hockey was played.
There's a contract.
A new contract. There was some, I'm not sure if you could call it controversy, but there was a little bit of a controversy in an overtime game, which then led to more conversation about overtime. We'll get to that. There were some milestones hit this week. We're going to put a team in the Elimination Station and big things coming there. But first, Nick, before we get to any of that, our teams played today.
Did they? Are you sure?
I mean, I'm watching. That's part of why it took us 3 tries to get this show off the ground, because I'm watching the highlights of this game. I
thought, Carl, before we started, didn't I say let's skip that first topic? Now we're going to drag me through it.
This is what I wanted to say is, and I think I've said this before, this rivalry that once existed between our teams, I genuinely was like you, Mike Laybourne, other Red Wings fans in my life, I didn't even want to rub it in your faces today. I was just like...
That's when you know it's bad, when you're like, oh, honey.
Yeah, right?
I'm so sorry. When Red Wings fans are like, oh, sweet, a fourth liner scored.
Who's the fourth liner that scored for you?
Giovanni Smith.
Oh.
He's a young guy. He's like a third liner, if we're being completely honest.
Like a Red Wings third liner or like a real third liner?
I think one day he'll be a real third liner.
Okay.
He's also a Red Wings third liner right now.
Well, that's good. And he scored today, so that's great.
And he scored very late in the game. What a game. What a game.
Yeah, that was... Well, I asked you for your synopsis, and I just got a real sad face.
Yeah, you just got like a head shake.
Yeah.
That's all it was. I mean, like, the first period, I think it was only 2-0 at the end of the first period. Maybe less than that, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But the shots were like 18-12 or something. Like, the Avalanche almost took 20 shots in the first period.
That's pretty good. Well, I saw, what was it? On defense, I think 4 of their defensemen combined for 11 points today for the Avalanche. I want to say that's what it was.
Yeah.
Nathan MacKinnon, this wasn't the milestone we're going to talk about today, but Nathan MacKinnon scored his 30th goal today.
He's good.
He's pretty good.
So is that Cale Makar, or as my phone auto-corrected on Twitter, to Cake Makar.
Cake Makar? Yeah, we'll take that.
Man, he's good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching him today.
I am so pleased that I woke up Sunday morning after the Avalanche had won against St. Louis Saturday afternoon, and Vancouver also played that day. And Vancouver Canucks media are so sensitive right now about who's better, Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes. They can't even accept the fact that that there's just another good defenseman out there right now. They're sending out quite the sad tweets.
It's silly. Why can't they both be excellent defensemen?
Yeah, I mean, I know that it's irrelevant, but Vancouver is the one who's sending one of them to the All-Star game. Just take that as a win. And when Cale Makar wins the Calder, that can be his win.
He's going to win the Calder. He should win the Calder.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's a legitimate conversation of him being a Norris candidate.
Yeah.
Especially because like they love people who produce points.
Yeah.
But man, he's quite good.
Yeah. I have to say, like, maybe because he was playing against the Red Wings, he had more space, but watching the confidence that he has in the offensive zone with the puck, like he would skate it right all the way down below the goal line and he'd stick handle down there.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's very good.
The goal he scored the other day in St. Louis, he started on the left side of the blue line, skated the entire length, skated up to the hash marks, and rifled it in.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's great confidence.
It's fun to see. And I got that just came out of the AJHL. Like AJHL, played college, never played junior hockey, which is weird for like a Calgary guy. So
yeah. Is he from Calgary?
He's from the Calgary area. Yeah. He played for the Brooks Bandits of the AJHL.
Oh, there you go. I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's why when they were in town this year, there was a ton of Cale Makar jerseys there. And I believe, and the Makars were also at the game. So,
oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's always a good time. But let's get to some, I guess, not happy news for some people. But it is happier because this time he did not get left on the side of the road waiting for a taxi. Gerard Gallant fired again, equally as surprising as last time. Which one would be more surprising? When Florida fired him and didn't even give him a ride to the airport, or Vegas firing him this time?
Vegas firing him. Come on. This guy, what is it, his third season with the team?
Yeah, this is their third season total. So he's done like all 2.5 seasons of the Golden Knights.
So this guy takes an expansion roster to the Stanley Cup final. He takes them to a, second place division finish last year? Third place, something like that? They weren't a wild card.
Yeah. I want to say that's right. Second.
And had a crazy end to their playoffs in Game 7 of the first round.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to fire a guy, do it after that penalty kill.
Yeah, right? And then he takes the team to a wild card spot halfway through the season, 3 points out of the division lead, I believe. And he's named a coach of the Pacific Team All-Star team at the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And then they fire him. I don't get it. And like the Ray Shero, did we talk about Ray Shero last week?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's the same thing to me. Like, why are you firing someone who's being successful at their job?
Yeah, this one even more. I mean, like Ray Shero's Devils not making the playoffs. This guy, all he's done is won with the team.
Yeah.
And sure, they're not as successful this year as they were last year, but they're on the verge of being 3 years in a row in the playoffs after not even existing before that. And sure, they've built a good team around him, right? Kelly McCrimmon's done a good job, but no reason to fire him. And what it turned out is that because in the same statement where they were like, hey, we fired Gerard Gallant and we fired Pete DeBoer.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a lot of teams knocking at the door being like, you know who we need to bring in here? Pete.
Go get him. But it happened instantaneously too. Right?
And
like they're like, he's fired and we got the new guy in.
Yeah.
So he like had they had those conversations with Pete DeBoer before all of that went down.
And you have to think like that's the reason that it officially happened, right? Because they, you talk to Pete and they're like, all right, we'd rather you than the other guy. Maybe because, as you mentioned, Pete's team, the Sharks, beat the Knights last year in the playoffs. Is that all they needed? Is this a loser leaves town match?
Well, I wonder who's going to be coaching the team next year.
We'll find out come playoff time.
It's just like they're a win away from leading the division. They're a winning streak away from running away with it. Like, I don't get it.
They've had Marc-Andre Fleury like in and out of net this year for like personal reasons, health reasons. He's back. He's doing his thing. And this team is good. They've built their roster, right? You added Mark Stone last year at the deadline. You've got that going for you. Lots of solid pieces. I don't get it in any way why this was a necessary move.
No, maybe Pete DeBoer can get the goalies going just like he did in San Jose.
Right. Even still, like, if Pete DeBoer was that sought after, because like what comes to my mind is like, well, why don't you just like hire him as an assistant, right? Because we've seen that where like a guy gets fired, he gets hired as an assistant, and then eventually you fire the guy and the assistant becomes the coach. Happens all the time. Was Pete DeBoer like, well, I'm not taking an assistant job, right? Probably. Because I don't think there's a lot of teams out there going after him. Like,
I wouldn't take an assistant job if I were him.
No.
I
guess he is still getting paid.
After being a head coach for that long, I don't think I would.
Well, and yeah, I guess if you're being paid to sit at home, there's no need to go work under someone else.
Yeah.
When you've had success.
Yeah. But hey, look, you found someone who wants you, so I guess you jump at it. I mean, so let me ask you this. Does this make Gerard Gallant the most appealing coach on the market right now?
Absolutely. All these teams that have an interim head coach, which is like half the league, I believe, at this point in time, should be calling him up immediately. He should be unemployed for far less time than Pete DeBoer was, which I think was 3 weeks, I want to say.
Yeah.
So figure that out. Where do you think what teams would you think he would fit well with?
I would love him as the Red Wings coach. Him and Yzerman have they're like best buds.
Are they actually?
Yeah. They played together in Detroit back in the day. He was Yzerman's line mate. So they're really, really close. But man, it's a project to go to Detroit and work with that team. Like, you didn't watch a game today, right?
I watched the game in 5.
The game in 5.
Yeah.
It was rough.
watched, for some reason, I have watched multiple Red Wings games this year. Don't know why.
Yeah, I wouldn't. So you know how rough this team is.
Yeah.
Like, for a coach who's had success over the last 3 years and probably it immediately became the most appealing coach on the market, I wouldn't go to a rebuilding team. No way.
That said, though, he went to an expansion team.
Yeah. Maybe he wants to go to another expansion team. Maybe he'll go to Seattle.
He could do that. He just we have to keep finding new teams for Gerard Gallant to work for. We need to keep making them.
He just wants to keep expanding his resume.
Absolutely. Well, good for whoever ends up with him next.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where he lands.
I was incredibly disappointed, though, that they did kick him off the All-Star team, because there is a significant precedent that you do not need to be an NHLer to perform in the All-Star game.
Well, yeah, so that was going to be my other question. What happens with that? They said don't come?
Rick Tocchet, coach of the Arizona Coyotes, has replaced him as the coach of the Pacific Division in the All-Star game.
I wonder if they gave him the choice. Sorry, go ahead. What was your precedent for this?
Well, John Scott, right? He made the All-Star game and then got traded and sent down. They're like, yeah, you can still play. That's fine.
It's true. I mean, that was a fan vote, right? How do they decide what coaches coach the All-Star teams?
I don't know. Like, who doesn't already have a ticket booked somewhere, probably?
What do coaches do at the All-Star game? Like, they're not actively coaching players. Are they just calling the lines?
You know what? If anyone's going to, I'm pretty sure it's Rick Tocchet. Like, I assume he's going to go down there and he's going to try to get the most out of that Pacific Division squad that he can.
He's already scheduled a team building event before the All-Star game.
Yeah, they've got a pregame meeting, postgame meeting, and a closed-door players-only meeting in which they fire Rick Tocchet between games 1 and game 2. And they bring back Gerard Gallant.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Or player coach. They should have gone player coach.
They should have gone player coach. Come on, let's see who's on that team. All-Star teams.
I mean, Connor
NHL.
McDavid's on that team.
Oh, Connor McDavid would be such a horrible coach.
He would be making them like bag skate before the All-Star game.
Okay, Pacific. Who would make a good player coach? Mark Giordano would make a good player coach.
He would, yeah.
I feel like Anze Kopitar would make a good player coach.
I feel like there'd be some antics.
There would definitely be antics.
Well, there we go. We don't get a player coach.
That's too bad.
What we do get is Rick Tocchet.
Just a coach.
Just a regular coach who's actually a coach in the NHL. Anyways, another reason the All-Star game is terrible. Although, you know what? I'll probably watch it this weekend. So, actually, no, I've got plans Saturday. Can't do it.
That was a quick 180.
I just made plans.
Just right now.
I've got I think I have laundry to do.
Are you going to watch the skills competition?
If I'm going to watch anything, it's going to be that. But they've got do you see this new thing that they've got in the skills competition?
Which new thing? Like the one where they're shooting from the crowd?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think? How do you feel about that?
I don't like it.
Trick shots, right?
Yeah, but it just seems like if there's any point in time that the NHL should be trying to fill as many seats as possible, this money grab of an All-Star game should probably not be the time where they're like, well, we're going to shove a player in the stands and make him shoot some pucks.
I really like the skills competition to be to see who's the best at parts of the game, like hardest shot, fastest. I like that stuff because they use that stuff in the game. It's an actual skill. But
the sniper, the sharpshooter contest too.
Yeah. That stuff's great. But trick shots, meh. Who cares? Why are players even practicing that?
I mean, I think that talking about All-Star game precedent, we have seen the Carolina Hurricanes pull a basketball net out onto the court and dunk. I want a slam dunk contest in the All-Star game if that's what we're doing.
There you go. I like it.
That I would tune in for.
Knowing the NHL, they'd make it a skills competition for the mascots, and that's who'd be doing the dunk competition.
You know what? I'm busy. I can't watch it. Well, there we go. Gerard Gallant no longer with the Vegas Golden Knights. Nicklas Backstrom. I have said for many moons, Nick, and his previous one ended. I always thought Nicklas Backstrom was one of two of the best value contracts in the NHL. Him and John Tavares on their previous contracts had amazing value. It's not the case anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Nicklas Backstrom, big old extension with the Washington Capitals, 5 years, $9.5 million. Sorry, $9.2 million. 5 years, $46 million.
I think the overwhelming feeling out there is that this is a fair contract for Nicklas Backstrom, right?
Is that
that's kind of the sense I got from some of the stuff I read. That he's paid his dues with the team. He took it early. He deserves more than what he was making the last few years. They're paying him back. He's an underrated player.
That's a stupid reason to pay someone a lot of money.
I don't think this is a good contract.
This is a terrible contract. I very much do agree with that. Those are all the reasons why this contract was signed. However, the fact that Nicklas Backstrom, who, congrats to him, he negotiated this deal himself.
Yeah, zero agent fees, right?
Zero agent fees. And unlike Drew Doughty, who did the exact same thing, clearly did a great job.
Yeah.
So he's got this brand new deal, right? The fact that his previous deal, 10 years, $6.7 million, right? A very long contract. At the time he signed it was 11% of cap. Exactly the same percentage of cap as this one at point of signing, like 11.29 versus 11.28. However, the length on the last one is what really did him in, right? He took that security of like, I'm going to make sure I get paid. And he did. And now he's getting bank. I'm with you. I don't get it.
It's too much for too long. I think it's the length that really bothers me. Like, I'm okay with paying him 9.2 this year, maybe next year. Beyond that, I don't, and like this thing's loaded with no move clauses too, so it's expansion protected.
Yeah, he's not joining Gerard in Seattle.
Nope.
And like you said, he's currently age check, 32 years old. This deal will go until he's 37. I'm not sure I want to be paying. I for sure don't want to be paying 37-year-old Nicklas Backstrom $9.2 million.
No.
Do you want to be paying 36-year-old Nicklas Backstrom $9.2 million?
Probably not.
What about 35-year-old Nicklas Backstrom?
Maybe. Like, that's where it starts to get on the edge for me. I feel like that's the year where I start to get frustrated with him and that cap hit. And then I hate him for the last two.
Right. So this deal is twice as long as it should be for that price tag.
I think so.
Yeah. Because you're not getting a discount by signing him to this. Like 9.2 is what he's worth right now. That's on par for right now. It's not on par for future Nick Backstrom.
So let me ask you this question. If they win the cup this year, are you upset with this deal still?
I mean, this deal has nothing to do with his contract for this year. Like if they win a Stanley Cup next year or the year after, sure. But you could have signed him. Like, do you think he was walking out the door if he got a 3-year deal at, let's even make it 10 million, right? 3 for 30. Nah.
I don't think he was going to leave Washington, period.
No.
They were going to work something out.
Yeah. So, that said, if you can win a Stanley Cup, you take whatever you can and you end up like the Chicago Blackhawks and you don't really care because you had all that history.
Right.
And you won a bunch of cups, so who really cares?
So he must have convinced them that they can win a few more cups.
Must have. The only problem I do see with all of this next year was looking at the old caps hits. A lot of this team is already locked up, right? You've got some fringe RFAs, sure. You've got Radko Gudas. He's done.
Good.
And some guy named Braden Holtby. As it stands right now, the Washington Capitals have $10.4 million in cap space. Is Braden Holtby a member of the Washington Capitals next year?
Yeah, I think they'll figure it out. Like they have $10 million after the Backstrom deal, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll figure it out. I don't know. I don't know how to predict goalie salaries, though.
I feel like Bobrovsky's performance this year has really put pump the brakes a little bit on the expensive goalies.
Yeah. I feel like someone like Braden Holtby is going to get a contract for way too long. He's going to get a raise. That's the thing, right? But they're going to sign him to like a 5 or 6 year deal, I think.
If that's when you said way too long, I assumed it was 8.
No.
So 5 or 6. Well, that's what Bobrovsky got.
Okay, Bobrovsky's younger than 30, though, isn't he?
Bobrovsky's current age is. Let's wait for it, Nick. Nope, that's not the thing I wanted.
Hey Siri, how old is Sergei Bobrovsky? Yeah, I think Bobrovsky's younger than that. I got it.
He's 31.
Oh, he's older than that?
Yeah. So he'll be the same when his deal starts, when Braden Holtby's deal starts, him and Bobrovsky will be the same age.
Damn, he's getting an 8-year deal.
Like, he just can hope he can turn around and be like, so Bobrovsky got 7, right? Because he moved teams. So he got 7 by 10. If that, I mean, the Capitals can afford to fit $10 million of Braden Holtby in for another 7-8 years, but I'm not sure you want to.
That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a goalie. I would try to keep him under 10.
Yeah, I would too. We will see what happens this year. I would, yeah. But also, I feel like the Capitals are going to just pay him what it takes to keep him.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they have Samsonov behind him, who is a fine backup, and Washington keeps managing to find these players. But it's something needs to change.
Your luck runs out eventually. Who's the GM in Washington, anyways? I still want to say George McPhee off the top of my head, but I know it's not him.
No, it's not. It's that's also slipping my head right now.
Lots of dead air tonight because it's Monday. Brian McClellan.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure what that.
Glad we wasted that time looking that up.
It's Hey, you know what else happened this week, Nick?
What happened?
Brad Marchand. He's a person that we try to talk about as little as possible, but this week is different. He did not hurt somebody, which is usually how he gets on this show. Mm-hmm. He did something very different. He was in a shootout in overtime, and he skated right on past the puck, but not right past the puck. He touched it just enough that it counted as a shot attempt. Thoughts?
When I saw it, you know Nelson from The Simpsons?
Yeah.
That was the first thing that popped into my head when I saw that. Couldn't have happened to a better person. Worse person? Whatever.
It's exactly who we want it to happen to.
It's exactly who we wanted it to happen to.
I mean, it could have also happened to Matthew Tkachuk, and I would have been very, very okay with it. But
and it lost him the game too. Like, that was the last shot.
That was bad. He had to score to keep them going, and he didn't. So good on him.
Good on Brad Marchand. You said he didn't hurt anybody, but he hurt like 25 somebody's, each of his teammates,
and like dozens of Bruins fans.
Dozens.
That said, let's say this happened to someone we like. Let's say this happened to Nicklas Backstrom, right? Someone that, like, I think we can all agree we're okay with. Is that it is by the letter of the law the correct call?
Yes.
Should it be? Should that be the ruling?
Well,
should we fix it?
You have to draw the line somewhere, right? You can't just have like, I get it. It looks silly in a situation like this, but I think it gets to a point, like, if you imagine that that's not the rule and you have to wait till they take an actual shot on net, I don't know. It starts to just, then you got someone who accidentally pumps it forward. I don't know. I'm rambling. I just think you need to draw the line somewhere and set the rule.
See, so my thought is, one, like, what if you just moved it so, like, you have to continually be moving forward with the puck, like, once you hit the blue line? It fixes that. But also, if we're fixing the shootout, maybe let's just get rid of it.
Well, I mean, that would be the ultimate fix for the shootout.
Yeah. Just an extra 5 minutes of overtime.
Yeah. I mean, why tweak the rules on something that's already stupid?
Yeah. Right. I mean, hey, Nick, I don't know if you saw it. They're putting players in the stands for the skills competition.
Yeah, but what if they swing their stick and just hit the puck but miss the puck? Do they get to reshoot it?
I want to say, I don't know. I haven't seen. Is it timed? Is it not timed? Is it player versus player? We need extra information.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that, like, there's just a million different things that could happen. And You just set the rule. You touch the puck and that's it.
I'm okay with that. I think we can all agree that it was the right call in that situation, though.
Yeah.
And also get rid of the shootout and switch to 3 points so that we have less overtime.
Yeah.
And I saw a number today. I don't have the exact number pulled up, but I was gonna try to like do a deep dive, and I still might. Instead of watching the All-Star game, I'll just do a deep numbers dive. But the number of goals scored in the last minute of a game has continually been going down since the introduction of the shootout. So essentially, teams, even though now they're pulling their goalies for longer periods of time, which we support and agree with, even though that's happening, less goals are being scored in the last minute because teams, they're like, look, I just want to play it safe and get that extra point. Like in a tie game, they're not pushing it. They're just gonna, and we see it all the time. You don't need the numbers in front of you to tell you a tie game with even now, like 5 minutes left, I want to say, is like a common thing where it's like, all right, now we play for overtime.
Yeah. And it's like, I feel like that's fully embraced by the media and because like the commentators all say it. Playing for overtime, they just got to get that extra point.
And especially in like a non-division game, you're playing right, like against a division team, you want to not let them get that point. But like today's game, for example, would have been a perfect situation for them to go to overtime.
The score would have had to be much closer.
I mean, it would have had to. It was if Colorado had given up 2 late goals to the Red Wings, could have been tied.
My God, like it was 4-1 in the third period, and Detroit scored to bring it within 4-2. And the Red Wings announced his team. It was Larry Murphy. Larry Murphy's like, "Oh, now we got a game. We're 2-2. We got a game." I'm just like, no, Larry. There's no way they're coming back from this.
What? Two goalies, the most dangerous lead in hockey. That's all you needed to tell them.
Pretty safe against the Red Wings.
Yeah. Well, all right. This week, big milestone. Alexander Ovechkin moved up the list of goal scorers
twice.
Passing Mario Lemieux. And did he pass Mr. Yzerman, or is he still tied with him?
No, he's tied with him. Unless he scored since then.
No, I do believe he is still tied. He is still tied with Steve Yzerman for the 9th most goals in NHL history. Where does he end on this list?
I don't know, man. How long do you think he's willing to go for?
Okay, so I am going to tell you, I'm going to work my way up this list and give you how many behind that player he is, which also means I'm going to be doing some quick math here, and it could be wrong.
Okay.
So, in 9th, he's tied with Steve Yzerman.
Yeah, he'll pass him.
Okay. Mark Messier. He is 2 back of Mark Messier.
Yeah, he'll pass him.
16 back of Mike Gardner.
Yeah, he'll pass him.
25 back of Phil Esposito.
Yeah, he'll pass him.
Like, I mean, he might pass those players this year.
Yeah.
Now it gets into where, okay, maybe not this year, next year and into the future. Marcel Dion, 39 back.
Yeah, another couple of years.
Brett Hull, 49 back.
I think he'll go for it, yeah.
And again, I think by the end of next year, he's caught Brett Hull, putting him 4th all time.
Yeah.
Here we go. A bit of a jump here. 74 goals behind Jaromir Jagr.
Wow, Jagr's that high up the list, eh?
Jagr is 3rd all time.
Wow. 74 goals back from Jagr. I think he'll catch him.
In 2nd place, Gordie Howe, 109 goals ahead of Alexander Ovechkin.
See, this is where it gets tight. Because this is where it's like, how much longer is he going to play for? Next year's the last year on his deal.
Right. So he's for sure playing next year. And you got to think, right? At the end of next year, he'll be 35 years old. He has won a Stanley Cup. He's made lots of money, but has shown zero sign of slowing down. Like, I guess the only sign of him slowing down is his gray hair. That's the only visible sign that Alexander Ovechkin is getting old, is the fact that he has a kid and his hair.
And he sits out the All-Star game for rest.
Right.
And how far back is he from Gretzky?
He is, I mean, this one, I think we've talked about this on the show. Will Ovechkin catch Gretzky? He is, oh geez, math is hard. Oh no, that's easy. 202 goals back of Wayne Gretzky.
I don't know if he's going to catch Gretzky. But I think he has a really good shot of catching Howe.
So he's scored 49 goals or more 5 of the last 6 seasons. If he does that, finishes this year with another however many, he would have to play 4 more seasons at the same pace he is right now. And I don't expect 39-year-old Alexander Ovechkin to be able to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he catches Gretzky.
So but it's enough that like we have to think about it. Like
yeah.
he'll pass Howe, I think. And he'll probably sit right in that middle because there's a big gap. There's a 93 goal gap between Howe and Gretzky. And I think that he'll firmly make himself the second leading goal scorer all time.
Yeah, you're probably right. The other question I have about Ovechkin is he going to want to do a year or two back home in Russia before he hangs it up for good?
Pull the old Datsuk.
Yeah.
And does his contract get traded to Arizona?
Oh, God. There's probably so many good Arizona Coyotes jerseys up for sale. Chris Pronger, Pavel Datsuk.
Rick Tocchet. The Rick Tocchet All-Star jerseys are flying off the shelves.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's the only other thing I wonder about Ovechkin.
Well, and that is a very, very valid question. And he's hinted at it before that like he wants to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
But he's also said he wants to win a Stanley Cup. He's done that.
Yeah.
Which is more important to him now. And I think me and you are probably the most qualified people to answer that.
Obviously.
So it's time for us to go to, and this is a bit of a change, Nick. It's time for the Elimination Station powered by Park Power.
Elimination Station.
Very excited, Nick. The Elimination Station with its own title sponsor now. And
I thought it was sponsored by my iPhone this year, but I guess Park Power is a little more.
Yeah. Important. So while Nick pulls up that list of all the teams we've eliminated in the Elimination Station this year, let's remind everyone, Park Power is one of the fantastic sponsors of the Alberta Podcast Network and your place for power. If you need to power an elimination station, if you need to power a home, and actually, Nick, here's a great thing. This week, told you last week, and maybe I mentioned on the show, it was minus 40 degrees in Calgary this week. My furnace went out, and I learned how important it is to have a good company behind you that can support you in your time of need when it starts to get really cold in your house and you need your furnace to turn back on. So luckily mine did, and the people at Park Power can do that for you. And they also support local initiatives and charities. They're a fantastic place. Go to parkpower.ca for more information so you too can power your elimination station. This is our segment where we look at the teams that we've officially eliminated from the playoffs. And unlike Alexander Ovechkin going back to Russia, this is definitive. They listen We've only ever made one mistake, and it was me. I acknowledge it. Every other season, we have never had to take a team out of the elimination station. And I was all right that we had to. It was fine.
We started early this year, though.
We started early. Things are getting a little scarier. I legitimately, this week, looking at the standings, noticing that a team that I made a case to eliminate is currently sitting 3 points back of the playoffs. And I said to myself, Carl, fix yourself. Nick, where are we at with this?
Well, do you want to know who we've eliminated so far?
I do, please. Yeah.
Okay, so we started with the Detroit Red Wings, and then we moved on to the Ottawa Senators. Then we took a little stager in California. We spent time with the Los Angeles Kings and the Anaheim Ducks, and we closed it out last week in cold Minnesota with the Wild.
All right, Nick, it's time for you to admit that the New Jersey Devils are not making the playoffs. That's my case. The New Jersey Devils are my team to go into the elimination station.
Yeah, they're really not moving in the standings.
So let's say last year the Leafs made the playoffs with 95 points. The New Jersey Devils are currently sitting at 41 points. They would need 54 more points the rest of the way. That's 34. They would have to play hockey at 130-point pace to make the playoffs, which is approximately as good as the Tampa Bay Lightning were last year. Is that how good this Devils team is?
Oh, God, no.
Okay.
They've gotten a good pass the last 3 weeks. Because the first time we talked about them, I fought for them, and I said no. I said, this team is better than what they are. And then they traded Taylor Hall. And I said, give them a chance. And then they fired their GM.
And won 2 games. And I could not last week put them in the elimination station after beating Tampa and Washington. I couldn't do it. But then this week, in 3 games, they gave up a combined 17 goals. While scoring only 6, Nick.
They got to go, Carl.
Welcome to the elimination station. Finally, the New Jersey Devils.
They're in there.
So what do we do? How do we fix this team?
Oh, wow. I thought Ray Shero was actually doing a pretty good job of it. Hire him.
Yeah, there's this. I mean, would you hire Gerard Gallant? Free agent. You've got an interim coach. Hire him?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I would.
So that's step number 1.
I think the tool, they have the beginner's tool set here to being able to assemble a trophy case.
So here's 2 things. I've never had a beginner's tool set. I've also never built a trophy case. What tools are in a beginner's tool set for building a trophy case?
Well, you need a legit number 1 defenseman.
This is not. I thought it was a lot of more Allen Keys, but I'm tracking. I assume that a beginner's trophy case comes from Ikea.
Yeah. So, and you need an instruction booklet with 2 outlines of people.
Yeah. Side note, I have 6 Allen Keys on my desk right now. Is that too many?
Why aren't you building trophy cases every day?
Well, I was building shelves, and because Ikea are who they are, they gave me a fresh Allen key for every spice rack that I built. I built 6 of them. I have 6 keys.
Are they all the same size?
Every single one of them. Yeah. It's fantastic. Anyways.
So
what else?
I was in the middle of transitioning my analogy into our conversation about hockey.
Okay.
And you insisted on taking it literally.
Sorry, a number 1 defenseman. You need one of those, right?
They have one.
Who?
PK Subban.
Okay,
what just happened in your brain there?
Look,
do you not think PK is the number one defenseman?
No, I don't. And I think he's very good, but I don't think he's the number one defenseman that you need to be able to say, I have a number one defenseman that can win me a Stanley Cup.
Okay.
That said, I'm trying to think.
What can you give me another example of one of those?
Like when the Penguins were winning all their cups, Chris Letang.
Yeah.
Was that.
Yeah. Or like a 2010 Duncan Keith.
Drew Doughty. When the Kings
2012,
won.
Yeah. 2011, 13, whenever they won.
Zdeno Chara. When the Bruins were winning. Like they're all a step up from PK.
Okay. Fair. Not every. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
And I think I'm going to assume what you were about to say. Not every team does have that level of defenseman.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go.
Because and you know what, I intentionally didn't make a point against myself because like last year, like what Pietrangelo with the Blues, a good defenseman, right? Cole Parego, good defenseman.
Yeah,
but not like on that top tier, not a top tier defenseman. So
and same with Washington, right?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have Radko Gudas at the time, so they were just now they've got that piece. They're good to go.
But I mean, okay, but if you don't have that, then you need a superstar forward who can score goals. Maybe one who's a league MVP.
Taylor Hall.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Okay, so they had the
one
pieces.
Of those.
Yeah, they did.
And the rest of them are like, they're there. That's why it's a starter's tool set. They're just not like Nico Hischier is not final form Nico Hischier. Neither is Jack Hughes.
Oh my goodness. I'm very excited for them to reach their final evolution, though. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. And they're going to be on the same team. But you know what this team really needs? I feel like this is a theme for our podcast. They need a goalie.
They do. Very much so.
They need a goalie.
Which is also the theme of like people getting fired this year. Either you are a terrible person or your goaltending sucks.
Yeah.
And probably a theme up and down. I mean, of the teams we've eliminated, there's only one team so far that really has a goaltender of the future that can be trusted. Right? Devin Dubnyk, I would say when like this is his last, he could stay in Minnesota if he wants to, but why?
Yeah.
What? We've talked about Jimmy Howard.
Not directly, but we don't need to.
The Ottawa, Jonathan Quick. John Gibson is the only guy.
Yeah.
Thus far.
Yeah, I agree.
So okay, I can buy that they have a beginner's tool set. And so for them to go from Ikea to like some nice rich mahogany, they're going to need to find a goalie. And I mean, I think that just comes down to like shotgun method in the draft.
Well, okay, but how about this? They've gotten lucky the last few years. So let's say I'm not going to say they get the first overall pick, although we should do a tankathon since we haven't done one yet this week.
True.
Let's say they land top 3, top 4.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, which they did not do in this tankathon, is that enough for them to go out and find a goalie in the existing crop of starting goalies and make a trade for one or try and sign one in free agency?
I mean, I would like to think, and maybe because I like to have fun moves made, I'd like to think that there's a team that would do that, but is there a team that you can think of who has a good enough goalie that New Jersey would give up a top 4 pick, top 5 pick for that player, but also have a good enough goalie behind them that they're willing to give that player up?
Not really.
Here's the first one that comes to my mind. We've got all-star goaltender Tristan Jarry in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Who says no to a Matt Murray for a top whatever pick? New Jersey or Pittsburgh?
So Pittsburgh gives up Matt Murray. New Jersey gives up a top 4 pick. Or top 5 pick.
Yeah.
Oh, probably. Yeah, you're right. It's much harder than it sounds. I wouldn't do that if I was New Jersey. Not with the way Matt Murray showed himself.
Mm-hmm. So you've got to get someone better than Matt Murray with someone also behind them.
Yeah. What about Columbus?
I don't think New Jersey for Korpisalo?
Probably not.
I wouldn't do that.
He's not worth that.
New Jersey.
He's not worth that. No.
I mean, prove it a little bit more, which is also the Matt Murray problem.
Right.
I mean, I know that Anaheim's got a long time going, but if they're doing this rebuild right, do they make John Gibson available? And that would cost more than a top 4 pick.
I would think so.
But if we're thinking of ideas, if we're getting creative here, Nick.
Or what about either him or what about Vancouver? They might be another one. Because they've got, what's his name, that kid coming up who's supposed to be really good. Doesn't Vancouver have some prospect coming up?
Thatcher Demko was one. Is that who you're thinking of?
No, it's not who I'm thinking of. The name is familiar to me, but I can't remember what it is.
Okay. We'll think about that. I mean, we've got Ilya Sorkin, right? The Islanders prospect who's doing great in the K. Whenever he were to come over, that could be something as a potential move. Either way, that's a hard. One of those teams will clearly lose, and it's not known at the time of the trade who it will be. However, so that is a possibility. They could pull that off. I had another thought in my head, but I don't remember what it was. Doesn't matter. New Jersey needs a goalie. Speaking
of goalies for a second.
That's my question. Okay, I remember now. Keep going.
This kid in Columbus, Elvis Mergelanden.
Yep.
Is he this year's Jordan Binnington? Merzlikins?
I mean, I'm all right with that.
Because he is having quite the stretch right now.
Yeah.
With this team.
And what's nice is it gives us a lot of Elvis-based jokes. So that's a good thing.
Big time.
Yeah. Well, the question was, who actually won the Tankathon?
Oh, it's not a good result, Carl.
Uh-oh.
Number 1, jumping up 7 spots, is the Buffalo Sabres.
Oof.
Number 2, jumping up 7 spots, is the Minnesota Wild.
No.
And number 3 is the Montreal Canadiens.
Nick.
Terrible.
Yeah. So the New Jersey Devils would be picking 6th overall in that scenario.
That's right.
Well, there we go. Welcome to the Elimination Station, New Jersey. We'll see next week. Next week's going to be a tough one, Nick.
Yeah, it gets harder from here.
We've eliminated the easy ones.
I've got my eye on a few.
I mean, I know who I have my eye on. I'm going to just do the same math I did this week every week to be like, all right, fine. I feel comfortable saying San Jose's not going to make it now. But nonetheless, do we want to pick our must-watch games of the week?
Yeah. Hey, by the way, did we do this last week?
Yeah.
Did we pick Detroit and Colorado?
I think we usually don't do Mondays, which we should probably do. Because we didn't do Mondays before because of with the high sticking being there, and we would just pick new games, etc. We should do Mondays.
Yeah, because when you texted me that, I was like, I totally forgot that game was on. How did we not choose this?
Yeah. How was that not a big point of last week's show?
Yeah.
And we both realized it at about 7 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. I mean, game number 1, I think mostly because it's first up on my app here. Vegas, Boston is a good game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Philly, always a good time.
Yeah.
So that's the games for.
Yeah, there's a few good games tomorrow.
Yeah. Less so on Wednesday.
Winnipeg, Columbus.
You should watch Winnipeg and Columbus and not two teams that are in the Elimination Station.
Yes.
And then we're on a break.
And then Saturday. What do you want to watch on Saturday?
Saturday, I think I'm going to watch. I think there's like a Pro Bowl. There's an NFL skills competition that day, I think. So Wednesday is our last day of games. Thursday is off. Friday is the skills competition. Saturday is the All-Star game. Sunday, nothing happens. And then Monday, and we have buys happening, which is why there's so few games.
It's going to be a lot of repeat teams, eh?
Yeah. So Monday, we get, since it's our third day of games, since we recorded this show, we can pick a Monday game. What are you thinking?
Tampa, Dallas.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, again, like some weird cross-conference, like Nashville, Toronto.
Yeah.
So we got Toronto. I mean, so all the teams that weren't playing this week, right, had today off, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're back. The other set of teams get their extended breaks.
Yeah.
The Leafs are going to be back from playing golf. Getting some practice in, Nick.
Hey. Working on their game for April.
Yeah, it's gonna come sooner than they want. So they're back, and so we'll enjoy that. And then by next weekend, the weekend after, that first weekend of February, everyone will be back. We'll have a full slate of games, and we'll talk about that next week on the show. Let's not waste next week's content on this week.
We'll be back next week talking about the All-Star game for the fourth week in a row.
But then we're done.
Thank goodness.
And like we'll get some, like, I mean, there'll be tons of news next week because Gary Bettman's gonna do some sort of presser and talk about. He's probably gonna make some sort of announcement about the fact that they're working towards a CBA. They'll probably talk about the Olympics. I assume, especially because there are multiple ways that they're being involved. They'll probably talk about the NHL's role in women's hockey. And so these are probably all things, probably all things that we'll be discussing next week on the show.
That'll be fun. That'll be a big show.
It'll be, so make sure to tune in for that. Make sure to tune in. Thank you to Park Power for powering the Elimination Station this week. As well, we want to make sure that you are ready, Nick. Do you know when you need to go to the hospital?
Normally, yeah. I hope so.
Okay, so because like let's say you hurt yourself in like a very minor way.
Yes.
Right? Would you need to go? How do you know it goes from minor to major?
I don't know. There's like alarms in my head that's like, yo, this is too big for home treatment or the family doctor.
Right. But like I feel like there's a time when like it gets hard when you're like, how much blood do I go?
Where are you going with this?
Well, Alberta Health Services
okay, there we
wants
go.
you to know what you should do and when you need to go and seek help. And so let's hear what they have for us right now.
We ask these children if they know when to go to emergency and when there are other options.
If, like, your heart stops beating, if you're really sick, if you were super duper hurt, you come. They're there to treat people that are really sick or really hurt and they need attention right away.
If you have an emergency, we're here to help. If it's not an emergency, you have options. Take control of your health. Call 811 or visit ahs.ca/options.
There we go. Thank you to them for that very important message.
Now we know.
Now we know. And now you know. And so you don't
I know.
So good news, Nick. You don't have to go.
Great. Thank you.
Let's make sure that you follow us on the Twitters at Fourth Line Podcast, Facebook.com/The Fourth Line Podcast, TheFourthLinePodcast.com. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and everywhere else that you listen to podcasts. And if you want to leave us a review or a nice comment, send us an email. Did I say the email? Mail at thefourthlinepodcast.com.
Sing us a song.
Sing us a song. I mean, many lovely things, because both our theme song, who's made by Eric Hall, and our Elimination Station theme song. And the name of the person who's made that one is slipping my mind right now. And our outro music, who's made by the former goaltender of my beer league team, are all from folks that are involved in the show. So you never know. If you send us a song, maybe we'll just enjoy it, share it. Maybe it makes fun of us. Then it'll definitely, probably, maybe get played. What do you think?
I think so.
As
long as you don't have to do too much editing with beeping.
I was going to say, if you make us laugh, if you pre-edit yourself in a song about us, thanks. However, until then, let's leave the singing up to Nick.
It's time for us to wrap up another Fourth Line show. I know what you're thinking. You don't want us to go. Who's that you hear knocking at the door? You are fired. It is Pete DeBoer.